Every movie tells a story. Every story tells a tale. Come with us as the people behind the Cinemadness podcast talk candidly about the stories that connect them to their favorite movies. This is Real Stories from the Isles. Why, hello there. This is Adam from the Cinemadness podcast. I'm one of the hosts, and I'm proud to be the first host on this new show, Real Stories from the Isles. A little breakdown of what this show is. They're just little mini episodes talking about certain movies that gave us stories to tell about certain times in our lives. They're going to be very different from host to host. And it's not just me, Roman, and Allison. We're going to get everybody that's involved in the Cinemadness podcast a chance to do a story. Or 2, or 3, or 22, or 76, or, how many long this goes. They're just candid recordings. Nothing processed, nothing edited, really. Aside from, if someone goes into a coughing fit, I'm not going to keep that. But, that's neither here nor there. These are just real candid stories about movies that we have stories behind. So that's a little rundown of what this is. And this is the first one. And this is going to be a little different for me because I'm used to scripted. See, I'm already screwing that up. Scripted talking, and this is totally off the cuff. And so you're going to hear a lot of ums and ahs from me because I usually cut those out of my videos and our podcasts. So it's a little get to know ya episodes, little snippets. But I want to take you back to the year 1995 for a little movie called Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight. And this was a movie that me and my friends snuck into, being 15, 16-year-olds, on opening night at our local theater. And it wasn't a big theater. It's not like it was the Chinese theater or something like that. It was an AMC 8 theater in, who knows where, Florida. And we just snuck in that night. We bought our ticket for our PG-13 movie to get in there and just walked the other way, which was really easy in this theater. It was 8, so it was 4 on one side and 4 on the other, and they had the concession stand in the middle. And this was before they really, quote unquote, policed the theaters for people sneaking in. This theater really didn't care, so it was pretty easy. Probably not even worth talking about, but it was a kind of a milestone step for a 15-year-old in the 90s. And this was back when you couldn't reserve seats. This was back when there was no stadium seating. It was almost completely flat, where if you had a tall person in front of you, then you were pretty screwed. So you had to get the perfect seat. And that meant getting there early. We didn't get there early because we were sneaking in. The night we did this, I think my parents were gone. My grandparents were taking care of me at the point. Not taking care of me, just looking after me. They lived a block away, so they were my ride and everything. And they gave me a ride to the theater to see this movie. And that's not important. This is just filler fluff for this thing. But lo and behold, the movie started, and I was blown away by this movie. Little backstory, I was not a huge fan of Tales from the Crypt. I watched it from time to time. I didn't really follow it. I knew its nuances and stuff. I knew the Crypt Keeper and the theme song and the intro. I really liked the intro, the flying through the house. And I really liked those face torches going down the stairs into the actual crypt. For some reason, I just really thought those were really cool. So I was happy to see that on the screen. But it was cool that there was a Tales from the Crypt movie, and it was even cooler that it wasn't Tales from the Crypty. Once the movie started going, it started off, with a misleading intro, with John Larroquette for some odd weird reason. I remember that really well. I think he did a fourth wall breaking look at the camera thing, but they had the Crypt Keeper there, and he was in full 90s CG glory, which was not a glory at all. He looked terrible as CG. When they finally did the close-ups, he was the puppet, which was better. But I didn't know what I was in for. I saw the trailers on TV, and I thought, hey, that looks cool, and it's got Roger Rabbit in it. that was my idea to see the movie, because it was a horror movie. It was a franchise that I knew of, and it had Roger Rabbit in it. And what was his name? Fleischer? I think his last name is Fleischer. I can't remember his first name, but yeah, that was. I had very low standards for wanting to see a movie when I was 15. I have kind of low standards seeing movies. I'll see anything still today, but I thought that was funny. But going into the movie, it made me. It introduced me to Billy Zane, and probably because that was his first movie that I ever saw, he's never done anything better than his character of the demon, or I think they credited him the Collector in this movie. And it was also my first experience seeing William Sadler, or Bill Sadler, as his friends like to call him. I'm not his friend, so I'll just call him William. As something other than Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I had yet to realize that he was the bad guy in Die Hard 2, but I recognized him right away as Death from Bill and Ted. And I was like, this guy's really cool. And it was a really cool name, Breaker. His name was Breaker. I don't know why. It's such a 90s like protagonist name. I am Breaker. And it was cool. And it had Dick Miller in it. And I recognized him. I didn't know his name then. As a 15-year-old, I didn't know who Dick Miller was via name. I just recognized him from movies like Explorers and Gremlins. Pretty much anything Joe Dante did. And it had Thomas Hayden Church, too. And I recognize him as Lowell from Wings. It will always be Lowell from Wings. The kids today might know him as Sandman from Spider-Man. But he will always be Lowell from Wings. The dumbass with a heart of gold. And that was it for me. I had no idea who Jada Pinkett was, which she was known at the time. I didn't know who CCH Pounder was at that time, but these people were really damn good. But no one outdid the campiness and fun of Billy Zane, and he's basically the best demon on film, aside from Viggo Mortensen as Lucifer in The Prophecy. He was just so damn likable, and if coming out of Christianity at that time, that's kind of what demons were. They were likable. They were there to trick you into being the good guys, and that's what he did. And his lines were so great. He was so over the top, so animated. He was like a Looney Tunes character, but a demon. And I just remember having so much fun with this movie, this R-rated movie that I wasn't allowed to see, and I haven't had that much fun in an R-rated movie that I snuck into until From Dusk Till Dawn, which was another really fun movie. But we're still on Demon Knight, and it was just a fun, hip, cool movie that critics just destroyed. I think it has a 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. It has like a 60 something audience score, so that's really what matters. But it just struck a chord with me, and what really made it a special movie for me, I guess a special movie, it's one that I can go to anytime if I'm feeling low or if I'm feeling bored. Or I can put on Demon Knight and just have a good time. And B, it actually sparked some creativity in my brain where it made me become interested in fan fiction. And that's pretty much the biggest takeaway from this movie, was that this story, this content in the movie was so rich with potential that it should have gone on. It should have had a series, and it's criminal that it doesn't have a series. So I wrote my own. I wrote a season of the Demon Knight Chronicles, never to be shot, probably never to be read by anyone. Really, it's so raw and so juvenile, but I thought it was very true to the story at the time, and it was cool. And like I said, I was just coming out of being a Christian. My scientific eyes were opening and my fantasy eyes were closing. And that's not a dig on Christianity or people who are big into Christianity. It's just how my brain worked. But I still know everything about the Bible, and I thought it was cool. The whole backstory of the key having the blood of Christ in it, and it was used to stave off, demons, and at the crucifixion, it was basically ordained by God as the lightning struck the key, and the stars of David tattoos were melted into the first Demon Knight's hand. I don't know who was the Demon Knight. like Breaker was more of like a messenger and less of a keeper and less of a knight, as it were. But I called him the Demon Knight just because it's cool. And but it's just a cool idea. I always thought stories in the Bible were rife with ideas for fiction and all that kind of stuff, storytelling. It's a big book of stories anyway. So why not use that? But anyway, this movie opened that up for me, and it also turned me into a big metalhead. I know I'm a few years late on that, but when this movie came out, it was the first time I heard Cemetery Gates by Pantera, which turned me on to the album that just came out then, Far Beyond Driven, which turned me on to the past stuff, and became a Pantera fan. Also, Sepultura, and I think Machine Head was in that soundtrack too. I listened to it a lot when I was a teenager. I still listen to it every so often, but I don't really remember. And the big, Hey Man, Nice Shot from Filter, which was in movies all over the time in 1995. I think it was even in The Cable Guy. But yeah, this movie, opened a lot of doors for my identity in 1995, musically, creatively, even just being able just to see filming techniques, the way they do it, because there was a lot of on-screen creature effects mixed with post-production visual effects. Nothing super effects heavy, which was another cool thing. It was very, you could tell it was very low budget, and which is the big thing for Tales from the Crypt. They're low budget, creep show stories, and it still kept that EC Comics feel that that created Tales from the Crypt. And it's just a shame that this movie didn't do well. I'm glad it has a real cult following, and pretty much anyone that I know that have seen it just absolutely loves it. I would gladly show it to anybody who hasn't seen it, and make a big bowl of popcorn, and just have a raucous good time with this movie, because that's what it is. It's just a good time. Like I said, Billy Zane is over the top, and William Sadler as a believable protagonist. And even Jada Pinkett did a really good job at the end of the movie, too. Oh, and CCH Pounder being a badass when she loses her arm. Come on, that's great. But it was just a movie that really sparked my creative output for my teenage years, and it helped continue on to this day. And I can't thank this movie enough for that. And that's it. I just wanted to share the idea that I saw this movie as a teenager and snuck into it on opening night, which was one milestone too, that I started into the realm of fan fiction, and that it turned me into a metalhead. It's all still the same to this day. So thank you, Demon Knight. And that's my real story from the aisle. So if you like this, make sure you let us know. Show your friends. Share it around, and let us know on social media what you want to hear more from. Do you like this format? It's not a new format; it's just a new show. If you like this show, if you don't, let us know. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. There already have a lot more recorded and stuff, but I really enjoy getting this intimate time together to just learn about what makes the Cinemadness podcast be the way that we are. We sit here and we celebrate cinema, and sometimes celebrating cinema means telling personal stories about the cinema that we saw. They're not necessarily have to be good stories. They could be bad stories. They could be movies that invoke bad memories, and we just want to get it out in the ether. So let us know if you like this. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're on it all. Cinemadness Podcast. You'll find us. And thank you again for joining us this first episode. And I hope you come back for the next few. And always remember to keep celebrating cinema.